everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tori Brame. If you would take a second, like and subscribe, that would super help me out. Today I'm going to be talking about pericarditis. So, what is pericarditis? You probably know what it is if you're watching this video, but just in case you don't, you should probably watch another video where a doctor talks about it. But just to give you a rundown so you don't have to click out of this video really fast, I'm going to tell you. It is where the pericardium, which is the sac in which the heart is, becomes inflamed. Sometimes it becomes so inflamed that actually more fluid will fill up, and that is called a pericardial effusion. Again, go watch another video where there's a doctor talking about it, because that is going to be so much better than my few sentences describing what it is. Few sentences describing what it is. So, when I was pregnant with my son, I had acute onset pericarditis. And how that went was my husband was at work and I was outside. We had this beautiful garden in Indiana. I was outside looking at all the flowers and, tending to the garden, and all of a sudden my chest got really tight and it felt like I couldn't breathe. And so I was like, oh, that's weird. And it actually started in my arm and kind of like radiated down. And I was like, well, that's probably not good, because everybody knows the general symptoms of a heart attack. And so I went inside, and I had active lupus at the time, so I had a very, very fast heart rate. And so having a fast heart rate, while not normal, was common for me. So I kind of sat down, stayed inside for a minute, and it just kept getting worse. I just really felt like I couldn't breathe. It was like there was something sitting on my chest. And every time I changed positions in any way, either backwards, forwards, anything like that, I really couldn't breathe. And so I was like, you know what? I probably just need to lie down. Which, if you have pericarditis, you know that laying down is one of the most excruciating things you can do. I, of course, did not know that at the time because I had never had it. I didn't even know what to call it. And so I took an allergy pill because I was like, maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just having trouble breathing because of allergies. I went to lay down and I was choking for air. I was literally gasping, couldn't breathe. It felt like I had gotten the wind knocked out of me. It was really, really bad. So I called my husband and I said, I can't breathe. I think I need to go to the ER. And so he said, all right, well, I'm coming home. So he came on home. We got in the car. I went to the ER. Again, I'm pregnant at the time, kind of have a funny story about that, buckle up. So I go in to the ER and I'm like, I say I'm pregnant to like every single person who's in there so that they know, don't put me on anything that would be dangerous for the pregnancy. I wasn't showing, I was like 6 weeks pregnant at the time. And so, they run through like the whole thing and everything. And so one of the nurses switches, like I guess the first one had, just done that waitress thing where she seats me, and then the other one comes in and is like my actual waitress, only with nurses. They run through the whole test. They do my blood pressure. They're like, hey, please pee in a cup, like all this stuff. And so I do that. And so the nurse looks over and she goes, is there any chance you could be pregnant? Like that. And I was like, yeah, I'm definitely pregnant, because I had forgotten to tell her because I didn't realize that the nurse had changed. Anyway, back to my story. So they could not figure out what was wrong with me. They decided to do an x-ray and nothing looked weird on the x-ray, and they did an EKG. It came out totally normal, albeit very fast, because I did have tachycardia because of my active lupus. So finally the doctor comes in and she's like, we can't figure it out. Like, we don't know why you're not able to breathe, like all this stuff. And so she's like, you're definitely not having a heart attack. And so she had an ultrasound and she was just like checking on my baby. He was still there. Heartbreak was golden, like everything was fine. And then she moved it up, and first thing she said was, whoa. I was like, well, that's not good. Like, what am I bleeding into my chest? What's going on? And she could just see the inflammation, like really, really intense, really, really intensely around my heart. So I think they gave me Norco as a painkiller, if I recollect correctly. I used to write down all my medications, and then my apartment burned down, and so like I have no records of like anything I was taking at the time anymore, but I do think it was Norco because that was like semi-safe for pregnancy, and so that was fine. So then they sent me home. I was bat. They were just like, should go away on its own, you'll be totally fine. However, it did not go away for another 1.5 years. But I went back to the ER because, again, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't sleep, I had to sleep sitting up or like propped up on pillows, something like that, because laying back was just, it felt like I was drowning. Like there's no way I could get air. Like it was excruciatingly painful. It was awful. So I went back, they referred me to a cardiologist. He gave me high dose aspirin to take. I took that for a couple of months and it made it bearable. It really did, but it was only barely bearable. And any sharp inhale or exhale was absolutely excruciating, and I was not able to catch my breath afterwards. It was like I got the wind knocked out of me because my lungs would spasm and I couldn't inhale anything. It was really scary. So any sharp inhale or exhale, that means I couldn't laugh, cough, sneeze, hiccup, or cry. It was absolutely miserable, like experiencing anything, and I did get really sick. And it was like, if I would cough, if I got a tickle in my throat or something like that, I would cough, and then it was like I could not breathe back in because my lungs just, because they would just close, like they would just spasm and close. It was really terrifying, or at least they would feel like that. I'm not sure if that's actually what was going on during that time, but I couldn't breathe back in if I had had any kind of sharpness there. Even burping was just, I mean, I couldn't yell. Like I had no voice. Like I just really had no lung or heart power to do anything. But if I could have screamed, I would have every time I had to burp, because it was just absolutely excruciating. I really didn't start getting better from that until I got on Benlysta a year and a half later. That was when I actually started being able to cough, sneeze, laugh, all of those things. But that was late 2018, and I got my first attack of pericarditis in like June of 2017. And it was so humiliating because someone would tell a joke and I couldn't laugh. Like I would laugh and then I would just get into this like fit where I was like trying to inhale and it was really scary and I couldn't. And, you know, my family was really the only people that I was hanging out with at the time. And so they were very patient and gracious with me, you know, because I would have to excuse myself and like get out of there and like get to a place where I could finally start breathing again. One of the things that really strengthened my lungs was trying to sing to my baby when he was born. Because I couldn't, I mean, I could barely whisper. It was like any prolonged exhale was just not an option for me. It just wasn't going to happen. And so I would sing to him, you know, very, very softly and just a little bit at a time. And it was good. Like it helped strengthen me again. But it really was the Benlysta that helped the underlying inflammation that was causing the pericardial effusion and the pericarditis. Recently, I actually had another attack of Pleuritis, which was similar. And I did a video on that as well, so I'll link that below if you want to go back and watch that one. But that has been my experience with pericarditis, and it was miserable. I would not wish it on my worst enemy. Anyway, if you have that, my heart goes out to you. I really hope you find a good doctor that can help you solve that, resolve it, fix it, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out, and I'll talk to you later.